It's recording now, so let's make a formal introduction for our listener. Good afternoon, Michael. My name is Claudio. I'm calling you from Washington, D.C. from the studio in Fairfax City. We're very humble and grateful that Michael Brückner accepted our invitation to our show. Michael, welcome to the show, man.
Welcome. Hi. Thanks for having me.
No problem, man. I love your music, man. So whatever, let's go from the beginning. With the pandemic now, a year, so many people have died. Some people have conspiracy theories about taking the vaccine. Some people don't want to take it.
Yeah.
How's the whole lockdown affecting your life, your work? How you holding up, man?
It was a mixed situation. You see, I'm not only a musician, I also have a daytime job to get along. And in my daytime job, I actually changed my job. Originally, I'm a graphical designer.
Yeah.
And also a printer, offset printing. That's what I did for some 25 years. And in 2018, the little company where I used to have my job at had to close. And I had to change the job. And now I'm something between a social worker and a job trainer.
Wow.
In an institution working with mentally health people with mental health troubles.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and because we are working there with 20 people, the institution had to close last year for 6 months during the pandemic because we were too close. And like schools were closed and kindergartens and such institutions as ours were also closed. So that offered an opportunity to me. I was forced to stay at home for 4 months. And of course, I had more time to work on musical projects, which I did. So it's strange. You almost feel a little bit guilty if you have some benefit from a situation where other people suffer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult for me. I was working from home for like 6 months, so I did have a lot of music, right? I have a big collection, like 4 floors of music, and
wow.
Not just electronic music, but from Genesis, from Pink Floyd, for Depeche Mode, Peter Gabriel, Led Zeppelin, all the good music, right?
Yes.
And then I decided to put one radio together to listen to my own music, because before I was going so fast in my life. I'm a computer engineer. I was buying record, buying all CD, but I wasn't listening to. So I needed to slow down, and I put one radio together, and then I put that was like the first one I did was a soft rock. Then I did like a jazz and rock. Then I began doing interviews. Then I put electronic music together, and now I've done around 70 interviews.
Yes.
I have about 5,000 listeners all over the world.
Wow.
All my radios are free. I don't charge anything. No commercial, no advertising, no social media, nothing. Just the best music at a very good streaming at a very good quality, 24 hours a day, man.
Yeah. I listened to the electronic channel a little bit the other day. Yeah, it's nice.
Like it?
Yeah.
And I wanna blow your music too.
Thank you.
I wanna play your stuff. And so were you born like in a musical family? When you began kind of learning piano at the time and taking piano lessons, how was your upbringing?
Well, no, I wasn't born in a musical family at all. And originally, I wasn't considered to be a musical person either. I didn't consider myself to be musical, actually.
Yeah.
And but I love music from the beginning. And like you, I was a record collector in my teens. I started as a record collector and made mixtapes, which I gave to friends and stuff. Also, I mean, I grew up, my teens were in the 80s, but I fell in love with the music from the 70s.
Yeah.
At some point, and I had Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, and Jethro Tull, and Pink Floyd, and so on and so on.
Yeah, wow.
And I always had that longing to make music myself. Every time I visited a friend, for example, who had a piano at home, or who had drums at home, or had some instrument, I wanted to get my hands on that, but I felt ashamed because I hadn't learned to play it. So I waited until I was alone in the room for a moment, and then I would go to the piano and play a few notes and stuff. And it was only when I was already 21, there were some special things coming together. I was starting to join a yoga group who did meditation sessions and mantra recitation. And I wanted to sing these mantras. And then I started singing, which I didn't do before. And by and by, I grew into it. And they also, in the meetings, they had an Indian harmonium. Do you know that instrument? I don't know if it's the English name. It's like these little keyboards they have with air going through them. Good. I think Terry Riley played harmonium too, for example.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, good.
And there was a little books with the melodies of the mantras. And I bought this little book and had a harmonium at home and tried to learn these mantras and stuff, these melodies. And while I was doing that, I soon started to improvise. It was fun having an instrument at home, and suddenly I had like a revelation that I could do my own music after all. And well, it took me 2 or 3 more years, and I just bought my very first keyboard. Good. And just started and was self-taught. Yes, self-taught. I think that's the word.
Yeah, the self-taught, right? You didn't have any preparation in class, and you.
Yes, I took some piano lessons then for about 1 year, but I wasn't very good at it because I always wanted to record my own music and then show my teacher. Oh, she asked me, did you practice what we talked about last time? And I said, yes, a little bit, but I have recorded something. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah, that's a good story.
And it started from there.
It's easy to go from, it's necessary to learn how to play piano before to go to play a keyboard? Or you can do, or can be independent?
It depends on what level of playing you are aiming at. I think if you want to play classical music and play by notes, then it's really important to really learn it from a teacher and study at home and get a good preparation. I, however, started, well, I'm not technically speaking a very good accomplished keyboard player or piano player. I started to use like sequences and MIDI and multi-channel recording to construct pieces together, which I actually not always could play with my hands. So if you stay on that electronic device level, you can use these devices without being a pianist.
Gotcha.
So
and little by little you start putting together.
Yes, sure.
Why? Sorry. Why you did if when you were in high school, right? The equivalent of in high school, the gymnasium in Germany.
Right.
Why you didn't ask your parents, man, I have something for music, you were mixing tape, you like music like I did, right? So I began, my dad had a big music collection, right?
Yes.
Jazz, all jazz, and tango from Argentina.
Mm-hmm.
And he began putting music. He told me that the first stuff that I heard was Louis Armstrong when I was 2 days old.
Okay.
And of course, I don't know any of the music, but and then when I was 14, I discovered the kind of rock and roll, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I listened to an album of Jean-Luc Ponty.
Oh yes.
Who played violin, who I interviewed on the radio, and then a Pat Metheny group.
Yes.
And then I say, man, I love this stuff. And from there, I began kind of liking music. Later on, when I came to the United States to study, going to concert. I don't know how to read music. I don't play any instrument, but music, Michael, is very, very important to me. I listen to music like 2-3 hours a day, and in the car when I'm going to I'm an engineer. I'm a computer engineer.
Mm-hmm.
And and then I decided to put a radio together. So it is very, very important. I never play, as I say, I don't know how to play an instrument, and then down the road, I was 14 when I bought my first record. Vinyl, I think it was either Pan Metheny or Jeopardy, and then I discovered Tangerine Dream. Mm-hmm. And I say, man, in one hand, I like rock and roll. I like Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, and on the other hand, put these guys electronic music that play keyboards, and it take my mind, put the headphone, take my mind to other places. Definitely, and I found Ricochet and all the famous early albums from. Mm-hmm. And I say, well, I like all of this stuff, So I have a big passion from depending on my mood, right?
Yeah, it's the same with me. I I love rock music. I love some heavy metal. I love classical music, baroque music, old music, Eastern, Asian music, all kinds. Yeah.
Yeah, one guy told me it is what good music or bad music. So you like good music. Yeah. That's what a German guy told me. I think Harald Krofpoff, he told me there is good music and bad music.
Yeah.
And then do you go to a lot of concerts there where you live, or is a lot
of
concerts? Yeah.
No. I would love to, but it didn't happen so much. I went to quite a few concerts during the 90s.
Yeah.
And when I got married, my wife and I were still students.
Yeah.
And we have a daughter who was little back then. She's grown up by now. Yeah. And actually, we never had a lot of money.
Of course, so, everybody started.
Yeah. Okay. So at some point, we rather stopped going to concerts because of that.
Yeah.
That's how it came about. And I think now is the time we start slowly visiting concerts again.
Sure.
More than we used to. But then there was a pandemic and all concerts were canceled.
Yeah, gotcha. Right, yeah. Here where I live, I'm like with 2 estates, in the border with 2 estates, and a lot of bands coming this way, all of them. Mm-hmm. So, and some venues are more expensive, right? I don't know, Susan Vega and Christopher Cross and all these people, they're very expensive, right? If I go to see Genesis, they're going to be touring the fall here of Fleetwood Mac, of course they're more expensive, but there are many venues that are inexpensive for like $30 or $40, which everybody could afford. It's not expensive, So that's what I'm able to see a lot of concerts, and seeing a live band for me is very important. I need to see play
It's
live,
wonderful. Yeah.
you know. And if you
Yeah.
you know, get a beer and listen to good music for 2 hours when you go home, I'm very happy.
Nothing better than that.
Nothing better than that, man. Where so and then so you when you began doing your at the time kind of electronic music, ambient music, you decided that that was your style and you didn't stay, you didn't want to go to the kind of pop or rock kind of stuff, or
In fact, I have, over the years, since I started, I worked in a lot of styles or genres. When I started, my idea was to make music maybe like Mike Oldfield.
Yeah, wow.
Or do you know Andreas Vollenweider?
Of course, all of them.
Or there was a German jazz new age guitar player who's called Friedemann Bateka. Do you know him? Do you happen to know him as well?
No.
There was a wonderful live album called Friedemann Bateka and the Aquamarine Orchestra. Anyway.
Aquamarine Orchestra. Yeah, of course I know them. Yeah.
Okay. And that's what was the direction I wanted to go in when I started. But I soon realized that with that synthesizer I had from the 90s, I could do quite a lot of things with it, but it had these sampling-based sounds, which today sound a little bit outdated, a little bit like plastic. And I realized that I couldn't do that kind of music with that instrument, because it didn't sound right. And that made my focus shift towards, I thought, what kind of music would be suitable? And I experimented a lot, and I've soon found that very quiet music, ambient music, as they call it, worked much better, or these like sequencer Berlin school music. So it evolved over time, but I also have two sides to my musical person, to my character. I love very quiet, meditative, this immersive soundscape-like music, but I also love rock music. And depending in which mood I am, I'm doing very quiet music, or I'm sometimes doing very lively, rhythmic, or even aggressive music too.
Yeah. And I listened to some of the some of the that you have in Spotify and then on Bandcamp. And some are more rocky, some of them more electronic, some are more ambient. And it's very good. You have very good stuff, man.
Thank you.
Well, and so what your wife was thinking about that, man, in one hand, you were a graphical designer, you were coming home and doing your music, and she was okay with that, doing kind of both careers?
It's interesting that you asked that, because I was thinking about that just a while ago. There are several aspects to that.
Yeah. If it's not too personal, if it's not too personal.
No, it's not too personal. It's interesting. First of all, even before my wife and I were a couple, we met to make music together.
Oh, wow.
Because my wife is very musical. When we first met, she still planned to study classical singing and piano.
Yeah.
And which she sadly decided otherwise and didn't do that in the end. And she was singing in choirs, and she had a wonderful baby grand piano at home, which we had to sell at some point. And so music was on the map even before we married.
Gotcha.
But it turned out in the course of time over the years that that it's quite demanding to have a daytime job, to create music, be an artist, and be the father in the family.
Of course, yeah.
To get these fields of life together. And well, it wasn't always easy for my wife, I think, and also for my daughter. So sometimes if I'm in a little thoughtful mood, okay, I wonder if yeah, if it hadn't be better not to concentrate so much on music, to be honest. But wow. It has been that way for almost 30 years, and yes, that time has passed.
You know, but the thing is, yeah, I know it's like a balance, but if you haven't done that, right, the world have never discovered your creativity, your music, which is your music is very good, man. You know, it's
I'm happy you think so.
Yeah, it's hard to difficult to,
well,
you know, be a father and work during the day, and then during the weekend yes. You want to do this, and you know.
I recorded most of the music years ago during the night. I would stay awake until 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, or don't sleep at all, and work on music all the time, all night through. But
and then go to your job in the morning.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And then you wouldn't fall asleep?
No, I just did it, but I can't do that anymore. It stopped about 10 years ago. Yeah. And I just realized I can't do that anymore. It would kill me.
Well, if you get older, you know, it's difficult, you know.
Yeah.
But you have done on were you? I noticed the cover of your album, very mystic. Were you designing the covers because you're a graphic designer? Yeah.
Most of them. I mean, I do the layout of most of the covers, and I used to do also the cover art for the first, I don't know, 80 of them. Or I mean, I recorded really a lot of albums. But recently, during the past maybe 10 years, I made friends with other visual artists, and who are better illustrators than I am. Yeah. And I asked some if I may use their artwork. So some of the actual artwork is by friends who are visual artists.
Good. And at home you have like a big vinyl collection, CD collection. What do you have?
Oh yes. I mean, it's just next to me.
All right. Feel free to. Yeah.
Yes,
wow.
Vinyl. Yeah. I don't think it's as extended as your own collection is. Because at some point I stopped buying. I don't have actually so much storage space.
Yeah.
And I at some point I really changed to downloads, just because it's easier to store all the music.
Everything in the computer, right? Yeah.
Yes. But I really love that, my collection. The only thing that troubles me is, since I started making music, I don't listen to so much music anymore.
Really?
Because when before I was into music, I was into painting and illustrating and drawing, and also writing. But these fields of creativity are on a back burner, because I can't do music and that stuff too. But all during my teens and early 20s. I spent a lot of time painting and drawing, and I always heard music. I listened to music at the same time.
Gotcha.
There was always music playing while I was doing that stuff. But if your hobby is composing music, you can't listen to music at the same time.
Of course not.
No.
Yeah.
And therefore, I don't listen as much as I used to.
Do you sell any of the paintings or no?
Back
or
then,
you did it for yourself?
I sold a few, but well, I stopped actually painting when I made a lot of paintings to apply to university, where I studied graphical design, and I hope to become a children's book illustrator actually.
Wow!
But it didn't work. I started some projects, but I never finished them, and I rather did, you know, print design for magazines, for posters, for business cards, stuff. Yes.
Man, I was looking at your like kind of discography, and you have done over. I have a big catalog, over 100 albums.
Yes.
Man, that's very prolific. How, you know, studio output? How? What's the motivation to begin with, man? 100, that's a lot. And more, maybe more.
Yes, I guess it's about 130 by now. Yeah.
My God.
There is a little story to it. From 1992 until 2006. So that's about 14 years, I think. I didn't release anything at all. Really? I was just in my little studio and had no contact to other musicians. And I don't have contact to a label. Well, I had, there was a little band I was a member of, but that we didn't have an audience. And I was just working on music all the time, but I didn't release any of it back then. And I always thought I wanted to do one really good album. What I believe a really good album is. And if I have that, go to a label and see if they release it.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Until some point. And time went by and I did the stuff all for myself until in 2006, 3 things actually happened. The one thing was I met a friend, to cut it a little shorter, doesn't matter who he was. He was a hobby DJ from a neighboring town. And when we met the first time, he asked, what are you doing? And I told him, and I said, oh, well, and I'm doing also electronic music at home. I said, oh, okay, I'm a DJ. Can I hear your music? And I played him some stuff, and he said, oh, that's great. Are you on MySpace? I said, no, what's MySpace? I never heard of it. And he told me, yeah, you can post your music there and you will meet people and people will listen. And some musicians got famous there. And I said, oh, I don't believe in all of that. And he came back and he asked me for, I think, 2 or 3 weeks, once per day. The first thing in the morning he asked me, I met him at my daytime job. And he says, hi, how are you doing? Do you have a MySpace account now? I said, no. He said, do it. I said, oh. And after 3 weeks, I said, okay, listen, I'll do it. And I try what's going to happen and take all your advice. And maybe let's just see. And if nothing happens, then I call it a day.
That's right. Nothing to lose, right?
Nothing to lose, yes. And so I started that. And at the same time, was another funny thing. I bring the things together in a minute.
Sure.
Actually, I had constant pain in my belly. And I believed, I don't know why, I had this fear that I was actually terminally ill.
Wow.
I just thought that I could elaborate on that, but to cut it short. And in that situation, I thought, wow, you have started so many projects and have not finished them. Maybe you should hurry and finish all those projects that you can before you die.
Sure.
I didn't die. I wasn't sick at all.
Yeah.
I just believed I was for some time.
Yeah.
But it was, anyway, it was like a signal for me to finish all those unfinished projects I had on my hard disks. And another thing that happened was that I still am a big admirer of Klaus Schulze.
Yeah.
Right? Klaus Schulze is one of my big heroes. Absolutely. And maybe you know his homepage.
Yeah.
I don't know. Are you familiar with that? And that there was this friend of him, KDM, Klaus-Dieter Müller, who is his publisher.
Good.
And who is the one who's taking care for his website. And there is an biographical article on that homepage. And I read that. And somewhere he says that Klaus-Dieter Müller, someone who has a daytime job and who has a family and who is only recording music in the evening can never be a real artist. Maybe he was right. I think there's some point to it. I think that now. But when I read that, I really got angry.
Of course.
Because I thought, okay, I did so much music, and I said, well, but I'm an artist. You can't say that. And at that point, I decided to finish all the music I had started up to that point within 1 year. It was early 2006, and I said, okay, I'll be finished with all that stuff I started in 2007. And then I will take all the albums and put them in a kind of promotional CD box and send it to some music journalists to introduce myself,
sure.
to prove that that I could do it. Music. I could do it.
Yeah.
Okay. And I did that. And when I started, I think about 20 of my albums were finished. And I thought maybe when I have accomplished that, I will end up with 40 albums. That was my estimation when I started.
Yeah.
And 1 year later, when I put it all together and built that box, it was like 85 CDs.
Wow.
And I was surprised myself. I didn't guess that it was that much. Okay. Well, and so I started to be on MySpace and look for people who are interested, and made some contacts, and one thing came to the other until in 2012 I had my first real label release on SynGate, which is maybe you know the label SynGate.
Yeah, SynGate, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then now, so are you, all the stuff is in SynGate? You make any money, any royalties from there as well? Or?
Yeah, a little bit. You know, not so much. I'm lucky enough that I break even. Yes, I can my musical projects can carry themselves.
Sure.
So, but I could not live on the income.
What about Bandcamp? In Bandcamp, you have a lot of albums. Are you selling them? Yeah.
You know, usually when an album is new, when it's released,
yeah.
I see some sales for a week or 14 days, and then the sales go down.
Right. Yeah.
And from the back catalog, so to speak, from the old albums, which are also on Bandcamp, I only rarely, I mean, once per year, someone buys one of the old albums. I don't know why that is. I always thought from some point on, maybe the people were looking for my old music too, if they like the new music. Yeah. But that doesn't appear to be the case.
Yeah, maybe sometimes you gotta do like a special where you mix, pick 3 albums and I send you one of the old stuff for free if you buy 3 or something. So then you can, tell the audience, well, you have old stuff too. That is good.
Yeah. Maybe like that, yes.
Do like a promotion, man. I want to bring your attention to a couple of tracks, okay? That's some mostly for Spotify. If you remember from the album Footprints, the Sequence of Memories. Yes. I don't know if how the composition come together. You remember or hard to?
I think that it's based on an improvisation.
Yeah.
Many of my Berlin school kind of stuff is based on improvisation. And this track was the main track on that album, which is dedicated to Edgar Froese.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah.
That was the situation was he passed away in early 2015, I think.
Edgar Froese?
Edgar Froese, yes.
No, recently. No, recently, about 3 years ago.
Yes, 2015, I think. Wasn't it?
Really?
I think so.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. Wow.
Anyway, where should I begin? Of course, I was upset and sad because he was one of my heroes too.
Yeah.
And a fellow musician, Christian Fiesel, who also had a radio show, he made a tribute radio show and invited other musicians to provide tribute tracks to Edgar Froese. And he also invited me. And at that time, I at first said, well, I don't like to do tribute tracks. That's a personal thing, because I feel strange, like, your hero musician dies and you grab the attention of listeners by holding up your tribute track. That feels a little bit like I get attention because he died. It just feels strange to me.
I understand, yeah.
And I told that also Christian, but he said, well, but I really would like to have your contribution, and people like that, and I know you loved Edgar Froese and so on. And he also talked, like the other guy, he talked me into it. And I said, okay, I will try that. And it was a hard thing for me to do, and I really worked hard on that first track, which is on the album. And while I was doing so, I also was doing sessions to test sequences, to test some constellations of sounds, which I wanted to use. And when I decided to release that album on Cyclical Dreams, which by the way is a label from Argentina, you know them?
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. South America, great guys, all great musicians themselves. I really like them. And they asked me if I want to release an album there, and I said okay. And I had the opportunity, but I had no new material. So I went to my hard disk, and there was that music I dedicated for the radio show to Edgar.
Gotcha.
And I said, okay, it's 5 years ago by now, and it's okay to release that music on an album now. I didn't do that so far. So I used that track, and I needed 2 or 3 more tracks to fill a whole CD. And then I went back to the sessions that I made and completed them. And the track you mentioned is one of them.
Yeah.
Basically, there was sequences from 2015.
Yeah.
And I just rearranged them and recorded some overdubs to finish the track.
What about Monocosmos from the album 100 Million Miles Under the Star?
Ah, yes. That was my very first album on SynGate, my very first label release.
Yeah.
And it was also very special to me. And I recorded, I think, 8 hours of music, and from which I picked the tracks that made it onto the official release.
Yeah.
And at that point of time, it was difficult. I remember I had recorded a couple of tracks, but they didn't feel right. They didn't seem to have the atmosphere I was looking for. They were nice, but I thought I need something better. And then I actually started to improvise and play a lot by hand. And Monocosmos was one of the early attempts of playing ambient music live and improvise it. And I really liked it at that time. And it was like a turning point. And after I recorded Monocosmos and maybe 1 or 2 other tracks, I decided that this was the direction I wanted to go with the whole album.
Yeah, good.
And yes.
Yeah, very beautiful. The other one is from the album During Adult and Other Tales, Scenes from 1,000 Miles. I don't. Yeah.
Can you just? I did.
Yeah, Scene. I think it's called "Sing from 1,000 Miles." For I think an album, if I remember correctly, for the album During Adult and Other Tales. No, maybe you don't remember.
It's from SynGate.
Yeah,
just
SynGate, yeah.
During a lull. Okay. Excuse me. Which one of them do you?
Was Seen from 1,000 Miles.
Ah, okay. I know. Okay.
That's you have a good in Spotify. You know, it's I think it's a very good track. Yeah.
Yes. This is. Well, there's no special story to that, actually.
Yeah.
After I put out 100 Million Miles Under the Stars on SynGate, which happened because I became friends with Kilian Schlöm, who is by now the owner of SynGate, but we became friends when he still wasn't the owner. 1 year earlier, he was the one who did the MySpace page of the label and who did photographs for the label, but he wasn't the owner, and the owner sold him the label 1 year later. And when he became owner of SynGate, we were friends, and he liked my music. He knew that from MySpace and from Last FM, I think, if you know that. And he said, okay, now I'm the one who can decide which artist to include to the label. And don't you want to join? And of course, I wanted to join, and we had an agreement to do one album per year, which I did. It started in 2012, and since then each year I have one or sometimes even two albums on SynGate. And these are also the albums who are on Spotify.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, so yeah, Killian, I exchanged a couple emails, and with Killian every so often he sent me a link. This is a new artist, check it out. It's a new artist. He's a very good, I never met him. He's a good person. Yeah.
Yes, and, it's a very kind guy.
The guy who introduced me to him was the guy I need to send the questions to. What's his name? Mario
Schönwalder?
Yeah, I'm going to be interviewing him as well. Okay. I think he doesn't speak English that well, so he told me send me the question ahead of time so I can prepare it.
Yes.
And so I will. Yeah, he sent me a lot of music. Mario sent me like a big box, or he's a very good people. Very good person. So it's a lot of very good German. And do you looking back in your life, if you could go back in time, if you can open a show and play with it, what will be the top 3 names that Klaus Schulze, Edgar Froese probably come
for collaboration?
Yeah, if you have the opportunity to play with anyone, who that would be?
I mean, yes, sure. It would be great to play with Klaus Schulze or with any of my heroes. I mean, there are so many brilliant musicians. I can imagine it would be great to play with them. But I always have to think, would it be great for them to play with me as well? And then I think, well, maybe they wouldn't need me as much as the other way around.
What about Brian Eno?
Yeah, I adore Brian. Huh?
Brian will like your stuff. Of course, I don't know him, but
I don't know. I mean, Brian Eno is, of course, a hero of mine too. I mean, for example, the Shoot-Off Assembly. Do you know that album?
No,
it's one of my key ambient albums which I really immersed a lot. The Shoot-Off Assembly. Or On Land. Yeah. And other. Yes, sure. I mean, no, but what is really interesting is I have all these synthesizers and computers and this electronic sound, which is wonderful in a way. But the interesting thing is to combine it, I think, with more acoustic instruments or more traditional instruments or singers. And I would, for example, I would love to do something with, do you know Wolfgang Tiepold? He's a cello player. He played on some of Klaus Schulze's albums.
No, I need to check it out. Let me.
Yes, I think he's retired by now too. And he is such a wonderful cello player. And I would have loved to learn to play the cello myself, but I never did. So collaborating with a cello player, that's a great thing. Or I don't know, a trumpet player, to have someone like Niels Peter Molbert. I don't know. Do you know who I mean? He's maybe I pronounce his name incorrectly. He's from Norway or Sweden, I think, a jazz trumpet player.
What's his name?
Niels Petter Molver.
No, I
No.
don't. No, I will need to
Oh,
check
he
it
is
out.
great. He is great. Check him out. He was like, do you know the label ECM?
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Of
I have a
course,
lot of.
where Keith Jarrett and Eberhard Weber and these guys who.
Pat Metheny, all of them. Yeah, all the big names.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think Niels Petter Molver is also on ECM. His early albums. I mean,
Yeah,
great
the
musician.
other big label. I'm quite sure you know a lot of them. There's the I see what's called innovative communication.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of very good music. There's a lot of very good music out there, man.
Yeah. Klaus Schulze founded that.
Yeah.
And then sold it later. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully, man. I'm hoping to one day to have like, either if I can do like a written interview with Klaus Schulze, if he doesn't want to do like a live, I need to, obviously, I need to respect the privacy of the person, right? So I cannot invade the privacy. But,
yeah.
If I send him a link of the radio station and say, well, he talked to him, he talked to that, will be,
I mean, I can, a good friend of mine is called Olaf Lux, and he has written a book on Klaus Schulze recently. I don't know if you've seen that.
What's his first name?
Olaf Lux. He wrote a book on Klaus Schulze just last year. And I did the cover design. And,
wow.
And we know each other more than 10 years by now. And he is the founder of a German group of Klaus Schulze fans. It's called Deutsches Klaus Schulze Forum.
Wow.
Anyway, and he, when he wrote the book over the years, he worked on it for about 5 years, and I could watch that from close distance. And then he contacted, of course, tried to get in touch with Klaus himself, which didn't work. But he's in touch with the management, and he's in touch with Klaus.
Wow, that would be. Did Klaus like the book? He read the book?
Actually, yes. Yes.
Wow, it's amazing, man.
Yeah. And well, I can ask him if he can ask for you.
Yeah.
And maybe that makes it a little more likely.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm
will say, okay.
Yeah, to see
but I can't promise.
Of course not. Yeah, I will. I'm in the process of. I'm in touch with the other two big names that I like, Michael Honig, and then.
Okay. Yeah.
And then we exchange some emails, and hopefully we'll do it this month. Some people like to do like a live interview. Some people send me the question, I will reply. Some people are in between. Other people. Yes. You need to respect the personality. But at least. Yes. And then the others, Manuel Goshin, that I like his music too. But I have a wide range. I like you, right? There are some days that I want to listen to electronic music and your music and Brian Eno and whatever, Peter Baumann and Klaus Schulze. And other days I say, no, I don't want to listen to electronic music. I put jazz rock and Peter Gabriel, Genesis, Blondie, Coldplay, but depend on the mood, It's
of course, yeah.
Are you planning on releasing? Are you working new material at this moment?
Yes, there will be the follow-up actually for Footprints. You mentioned Footprints on Cyclical Dreams. We'll do another album which will be released in late July, actually.
Yeah.
I think July 23 or something. It will be a double album. And actually, it's not really completely a live album, but I used material from 2 streaming concerts, which I played earlier this year. One in March and the other in April.
Are there stores somewhere like a YouTube or somebody can listen to or no? or no?
You mean the concerts?
Yeah.
Yeah, they are still on YouTube. Yes, the original
Man,
concerts.
I need
can
to check.
send.
I will need to
Okay.
listen to stuff.
Okay. Yes, but I expanded a little bit on some tracks.
I got you. Yeah.
So,
So
there were. Huh?
so you say with SynGate, you need to
Yeah.
do like at least one a year, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
I try to do that, and it worked out so far.
Yeah.
So it has been 8-9 years by now.
That's
So
pretty
next year is my I don't know the English word. Just it will be 10 years next year.
Gotcha.
And we can do maybe something special then.
Of course.
10 years in SynGate.
And you mentioned the cello player. Do you know who the band in Flerk?
Yes, I noticed that.
Yeah,
You made
they're
an
very,
interview.
very good.
I need to. They are a favorite group of mine since I don't know, 16.
Yeah.
I have 2 of their LPs. I really love them.
They're very good.
And I didn't know that they are still active because I never heard of them again. I have these two great CDs, but then nothing.
Yeah. So I interview both 3 members.
Yeah.
And then I interview, of course, the main guy from Flerk who now retired. But one of the people, and then another I interview and look it on the webpage. Giannis, and I will send you an email. No need to write this. I will say,
okay.
He and his wife, they are very good cello player, and then they play violin. And I think if you should, the 3 of you put something together, man.
Oh, do you think? Well, yeah,
why not?
Huh? Why not? Yes, why not?
Like I don't care what everybody thinks or does. I have certain goals and I want to do it. I want to go for it. At the beginning, right? When I put the trade together, I said, who will give me an interview? Right. It's true. People are not touring. People are at home, musicians at home. Maybe they will email me back. A lot of people didn't email me back. Now a lot of people are writing me for interview. And remember the first email they put together, I sent it to Steve Hackett from Genesis.
Okay.
That was the first interview. And I say, Steve, I love your music from Genesis. I'm just starting a website. I only have like a 50 listeners, nothing. I didn't want to lie, right? The simple beginning.
Yes.
And he said, yeah, I will do the interview.
Cool, great.
Steve Hackett. And then like 3 interviews after that, I interviewed another guy from Genesis, Anthony Phillips, the guy doesn't do any interviews forever. So I got lucky and became friend with a lot of those people. So it's somebody to give you an opportunity. The worst scenario, they would say no, right? So still a lot of people, don't reply back. A lot of people say no, but I'm recording a new album, reach out in 6 months. A lot of people say, well, I never heard from them back,
Yes.
But you need to keep on trying, man. Don't give up. I have 64 interviews, and I want to reach 75.
Can you excuse me just a second?
No, take your time. Take your time.
My telephone is ringing, and
no problem. Yeah, let me pause. Yeah, I'm recording again. I pause, and you need to keep on trying, man. You need to, some people will say no, some people will say yes, and then you need to keep on trying. I'm always positive. I'm always positive. I don't, like when you read the article, right, in the Klaus Schulze, they say, real musician, they cannot be part-time and this and that. I don't care.
Yes,
I do my thing. So
that's the best thing to do anyway. Yes.
Yeah, you need to be, optimistic. And don't care, man. Go for it. If you have a goal, an idea, a project, a music, just do it, man. Never too late,
No.
You gotta do it, man. I was thinking, man, I have things been, Father's Day and everything. I don't want to extend it too long, but I was thinking I will send you a different a separate email after this, Michael. I will send you the video for you to
Yes.
upload in your Facebook. But we need to do like a part 2 of this. It's very
If you
hot here.
like, yes.
Huh?
Okay, wonderful.
During next week we do a part 2 and then a part 3. And Steve in the morning, he was talking about, Tangerine Dream, early days, and Astro Temple, Agitation Free. So I need to do like 3 interview with him, So I will. So well, let's stop it here, and then we will do like a part 2 and a part 3 next week, and so forth. And because there's a lot of music that I wanna cover with you, a lot of different albums, and you mentioned a lot of names, and I need to, look into that and ask you more specific question. But it has been great, man. You're a good person. Yeah, I like talking to you, Michael. Maybe between now and then I might learn some German phrases so I can try.
Okay, we can try that.
You can try. Well, say hello to your wife, Michael. Keep on producing good music. I will send you an email shortly when I upload the video to the website.
Wonderful.
And then we'll do another follow-up next week, man.
Okay, wonderful.
Thank you very much, man.
It was a joy.
Appreciate it. Take it easy, man. Thank you, Mike.
Bye.
Bye, Michael.